you now. Can I make you a co-host?
Make me co-host.
So this way you know who's coming in, and I don't know. And you know, when I do MySpace, I make sure that I send out an invite. Thank you to everyone that attends. So this way, I want to know if who comes in and not so crazy. So I'm so excited you're finally here. We've been talking about this for months.
Took a little while, right? Took a little while.
Yes, yes.
We're here.
Yes.
What is going on, Tanya? It's my pleasure for being here. Amy, I see in the crowd. She's awesome.
I know. And you know, you two host the best Twitter Spaces, by the way. And I want to before we even start with our conversation, I just want to say thank you so much. I think, you know, when I joined Twitter Spaces, I really didn't know much. You know, I didn't know much about the NFT community, and I didn't know who's real and who's not. And you kind of like took me under your wing. We DM each other. I listen to your Twitter Spaces. I'll make comments. I'm not I didn't join in or anything, but I'll DM you comments, and then you're like, okay. Then you answer me. It was so interactive. I want to say thank you for just, you know, like introducing me to NFT community, and you know, so I'm so glad to like have the opportunity to chat with you and also be able to share your background. I mean, you and I think you and I talked about this. I was like, I've been in technology for so long, and when we first connected, I looked at your profile and I'm like, you have a lot of friends in common with me. I mean, we have a lot of friends in common, but I have never met you.
A lot of mutuals.
Yes. So
the space is small though. That's what's funny about that. It's like, you know, startup, or at least the startup tech scene, is like really small when it comes down to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, these companies are large, but the people who actually run the management and stuff like that, it's like, you know, maybe 3,000 to 6,000 people in the United States like run, you know, big tech companies or big brands, and or, you know, management wise, and everybody knows each other. So that's why we have so many mutual friends. Yeah, we never met because you're in Florida, and I didn't really go to Florida too often for a lot of things, except for back in like 2006, 07, and 08, when there was a winter music conference and stuff like that, and MySpace was big. It was kind of funny to even bring that up, but MySpace was the thing, and I actually went to winter music conference with Tom Anderson of MySpace.
And I didn't run into you? Oh my gosh, Ultrafest was my thing. I used to throw raves for a living. So the guys when I did Ultrafest, and then I was you know, that's why I really loved that time when everything was just so new and everything. So that's funny.
Well, that's this time now, right? Web 3.0 is now, right? This is literally a new little bone of Web 3.0 in the NFT space, and you know, the metaverse and Decentraland and Somnium space. This is like a new renaissance, visual renaissance for like art, but also renaissance for how we are going to start storing data on like blockchains and using one-of-one NFTs to like store medical records and deeds to the house and your car title and your, you know, passport, driver's license, things that are literally not replicable, really, unless you need to replace them, of course, because you lose it. But in theory, you won't really lose it if there's a digital copy on a blockchain, stored on a token. So.
Yeah, I'm so excited we're talking about that. I want to get further in more about that. So before we start, I had tweeted out a tweet of this kind of like short description of what you do. And I'm on your website, lucasbean.com, and on the About page. And can I just read a little bit about it? But I love this one part that you have on here, and I just love it. So let me go ahead. Would you mind if I just read this to everybody? This is how I do my show, my chats, as I call it. So lucasbean.com /lucasbean About page. A pleasure to meet you. I'm Lucas Bean. My whole life, I have been a type A overachieving individual. I worked a full-time job through undergrad and graduate school, so I know what hard work is. I'm originally from New England, which means I say wicked a lot, and my favorite thing to do is help people build businesses and assist in turning a once profitable businesses that has fallen on unprofitable hard times back into a profit-making powerhouse. I have led operations and marketing for iconic brands such as Atari, Sony Pictures, as well as being an executive at 3 .coms that are sold for over $400 million or more. From what I've learned, I can help you scale your businesses very quickly, even when your budgets are tight. I'm not just a growth hacker, which just means I'm good at marketing. I'm a attention hacker. a brand builder, a problem solver, cost cutter, corporate blockchain, and crypto advisor. I optimize your user flow, reduce your reliance on outside third-party systems, and automated everything with internal processes, which makes your company more valuable as I map a priority software to build just for you. So,
proprietary.
I know. That's one word I always have a hard time pronouncing, believe it or not. Maybe because that's why I'm so all about open source. So the part that I love the most was like, I am not just a growth hacker, which just means I'm good at marketing. I'm an attention hacker, a brand builder, a problem solver, cost cutter, corporate blockchain, and crypto advisor. So, when you think of the word hacker, I think it in a great positive way because I freaking love that. I love people who can think outside the box, create something that makes it short and simple and makes it easy for people to comprehend. And so, but then I'm looking at the word attention hacker. Tell us a little bit about that when you make that statement.
Everybody's vying for everybody's attention online. I mean, that's what social media is, right? So if you can get somebody's attention, you're able to hack somebody's attention rather than actually hack acquisition. That's the way to do it. When you tell a good story and you're able to tell that in 6 seconds or less, so people actually start to connect with it, you can basically gain their attention. We live in an attention economy, and those who actually are good at attention will win at the end of the day, and those who are just putting out marketing like ads and stuff like that are just like clickbait or spammy or just all over the place, that's just not going to play with our smart consumers now, because the consumer base is literally, our attentions have all dropped dramatically. Our attention spans have all been just cut by like half. It used to be like 6 seconds online. Now you have like 3 seconds to like make a difference, and everybody's vying for attention across Instagram and Twitter and everything. So like in a world of noise, you want to be the signal out of that noise. And I think creating that signal that everybody can resonate with, that everybody already agrees with, telling that story that everybody can go, wow, that hit home to me. I feel that. I felt that. That right there hooks people's attention to actually continue on, and like if it's an advertisement, then continue on with the ad, or it's some kind of storyline that's an advertorial that leads into the call to action of an acquisition. So I think attention hacking is like the new positive way of saying it, because a lot of people have a negative connotation for the word growth hacking, because it's a marketing term for being, it's a marketing term for marketing. And the growth, like basically hacking attention is basically the real. We're really good is we're making sure people pay attention to us. We make so much noise that all the other noise is silent for a little while, and you all of a sudden resonate and make that signal amongst all the rest of like the distortion and the ways out there. So that's what that is.
I love that, and you're so right about that. I mean, how long have you been on the internet? Let me just ask you about that, because I can imagine when you first started, there wasn't that much.
94.
Oh my God, 94, really?
I've been on the internet since 94.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I've been on all sorts of stuff. I had modems, that before AOL, I was dialing up through my dial-up modem. So then there was also, once AOL came out, and as soon as AOL came out, I was on AOL chat rooms and all over the web with AOL and stuff like that. So I mean, I've been around for a long time playing on the internet. I wrote my first program when I was 11. Software when I was 11. I've been fascinated, and I've loved video games and the internet since its inception. And the ability you can actually communicate with folks that weren't part of your like tribe, and you can actually talk to somebody in another country in a chat room and be like, wow, like I'm talking to someone in Russia right now. I'm talking to someone in China right now. I'm talking to someone over in Western Europe, and I'm like, this is amazing. And it just changed the game for me. So
Wow. So let me ask you this. When you started out in this in 1994, because I remember the 90s, it was great. So
Yep. I was a kid. So.
you were a kid. No, I think you and I, we talked about this before, but what did your family think? The fact that you're like, I mean, in 1994, no one thinks about software. When people just might play a video game, I remember my cousin, my brothers, they all play video games and stuff. It wasn't my thing. But in 1994, and then from that day on forward, what were people's thoughts when you were talking about the future of being able to talk to everybody globally?
Well, they thought I was crazy. They thought I was like a toy, and they thought the internet was a fad. 100%. My mother specifically was like, "What are you doing on that thing? It's just it's just like a fax machine." She thought it was a tool, like a fax machine. I was like, "Really? Like this is going to change everything?" I thought, and it definitely did. And before that, I mean, when I was like 10, I was like hacking their game. My father played a game on our desktop computer, poker game, and I was hacking that, like hacking the floppy disk.
Oh my
and
God.
like talk to him differently, say different things to him, and he was like, "Wait a minute, how did it know that?" So I was like hacking video games like in 1986, 1987. And then when the internet like was really full bore with AOL and stuff like that, I was in there chatting and seeing it as the future. I actually told my mother around 94, 95, literally what I wanted to do with my life. And she thought it was the dumbest choice I could have ever made, which was I wanted to focus on online, literally online advertising is what I said to her. And she goes, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "What do you mean online advertising?" She's like, she was a psychiatrist. So I was like, "Go be a psychiatrist. Be like me, or go be like your father, or go, be a lawyer, be a doctor. There's nothing in this for you. Why are you doing this? Why are you throwing all your career away and your aspirations away on a career that's going nowhere on a fad?" And that's what I was told over and over again until I graduated college, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Whoa, I guess you made the right decision because the internet's really taken off." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was like 6 or 7 years ago."
Wow.
So, yeah.
And what are they saying today?
Oh yeah, it's funny. My family is very conservative family, and I'm a very progressive person, so not conservative in any way. And they still think that they still reach out to folks on like Upworks and other platforms to like help them with internet things without even consulting me. It's kind of an interesting scenario. They just don't want to they don't want to get me involved because they don't things will be done like right. And yeah, it's just interesting. They just I don't know how to explain it except for they see it as me making the right decision, and I guess it'd be called a little envious.
I love that story. Oh my God. So here you are. You're doing NFT, and we're gonna talk about NFT and community building because I feel like you're one of the pioneer. I think hold on 2 seconds. So I feel like you're one of the pioneer, and I feel like you have done a lot, and you've given a lot, and you've helped a lot of new NFT artists. I can go on and on a list of all the spaces I've been in that you're part of this. But let's talk a little bit about your previous jobs. I mean, at Atari, Sony Pictures. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'll start in order. So, do you want to know about before that, or do you just want to start with Sony?
I'll do a little bit about before that, just to give us some brief background, so that we're used to that.
So my first gig out of college was Deloitte Consulting. I worked there for about a year. Left there, went to Sennheiser Electronic Corporation. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they make headphones and microphones. Amazing company in 75 countries. I ran North American marketing for Sennheiser. At the same time, I was getting my a dual master's degree. And then once I graduated graduate school, I got recruited out of graduate school to work at a startup out here in California. And I was living in Connecticut at the time. And got a job at a company called LowerMyBills.com, which then got acquired by Experian. But that was where I got my real PhD in like business, according to my according to my bosses and the CEO of the company. So that company, I remember being there 2 weeks. Probably I was there for 2 weeks, and we celebrated our first $80,000 day revenue day, and then a year later we celebrated our first $1 million day, and then just after that it was just $1 million after $1 million. It just kept rolling in, and then Experian came in and bought the company for just over $400 million with the earnout. And then I left from there. I was at the same time I was working there. I was working at MySpace as well, as a marketing consultant, helping them with growth, and they just took off. And all of a sudden, Intermix Media was on the block for Fox to come and purchase them. And everybody was getting into the social networking, space at the time. There's a whole bunch of social networks out there that are, some are still in existence and small, and a lot of them went the way of the dodo. But MySpace sold to Fox for $580 million, and then I worked at a company right after that called Traffic Marketplace, which was the 12th largest display ad network in the world. I was the GM and basically head of the display ad network, and then I took the company from number 12 to number 2. And then that company, we sold it to Epic Media for $580 million. Don't ask me why. $580 million is the number that these folks just keep going with. I don't know why it is, but it is what it is. And then after that acquisition happened with Sony Pictures, I was running basically all of marketing for Crackle.com, basically their version of Hulu at the time, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Crackle.com, but it's a pretty cool platform, and there I led the charge and basically grew it to pretty extensive base. I mean, analytically speaking, it saw an 800% growth period in 12 months, and cost of acquisition I reduced from I don't remember what the price was, like somewhere around $8. I reduced the cost of acquisition to around $1 per acquisition for each user. So it was pretty cool. Had a great time there. I never thought I was going to actually leave Sony, at least not for, at least another 2 or 3 years, until someone came to me with the head of global marketing for Atari position, and I'm like, went to the interviews, like just for, kicking the tires, and I'm like, maybe, and then I was told, I heard all the right things from the team, and I was like, wow, I can run this division at Sony Pictures that I love doing, or I could go run a brand that everybody in the world knows, one of the most iconic brands in history, and be the head of global marketing there. And I'm like, it was a tough choice, I have to admit, but I took the gig at Atari, and I was really happy with it. And it turned out the entire executive staff that was there, the CEO that actually hired me, the rest of the executive staff all got laid off within 30 days of me coming in there. I was the only one that they kept. And the whole new management team was brought in, and my job was to transition not only to market big box, retail video games and DLC, PC games, all that stuff, but it was also to transition them into mobile marketing and to social gaming. So basically mobile gaming and social gaming. And I was there for their first social games.
Wow.
Asteroids and a couple other roller coaster tycoon, things like that, onto Facebook when Facebook games were big. And then I was there launching their first at least successful mobile launch with Atari's Greatest Hits, which made a huge amount of money. It was I called in a few favors to get the app on the front of the iTunes store at the time. New and noteworthy, and it just blew up. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into detail because there's some of that stuff where it's like it made up a bunch of the revenue that was like we kind of forecasted. Someone forecasted revenue incorrectly, but we were able to make up that forecasted revenue in the mobile game, which shocked everybody. So it was kind of a cool save, and at the same time, just great experience. So
That's incredible. Oh my God, that's incredible. Look at it today, though. I mean, did you foresee how big the gaming industry would be?
Oh, no
today?
doubt, no doubt. I knew mobile gaming would be successful once the iPhone came out because I saw the iOS ecosystem and I was like, this is game changing. So I knew it was going to be, and we were working on games here at Sony. So they were companion games for like movies and TV and original content. So we would actually make little games off of that. So I definitely saw where it was going. And I also, I mean, I guess I was probably one of the first people that were using influencers at the time as well. At Sony, I was reaching out to influential people, trying to get promotion from those folks, also putting influential people from YouTube into our original series so that they would actually, you know, we would have built-in audiences across all of these shows that we were releasing because these folks would just automatically want to promote their shows and all their friends would be promoting their shows with them because back then it was a really friendly ecosystem where everybody was actually promoting each other. Everybody was in it together, kind of like the NFT space is now, where YouTube's a little cutthroat now, where everybody's just like trying to make their channels big and collaborations are harder to come by. And NFT space, collaborations are like second nature. Everybody is all about, you know, doing splits right, which we were just talking about the last space I was in. And, you know, it's just a very kumbaya symbiotic relationship with all these NFT artists. Everybody is so amazingly friendly and helpful to each other and one another. That's what I love about the NFT community is the community is so strong and just so welcoming.
So that brings me that we kind of worked our way down, and now we're bringing the NFT community because I mean the spaces I've sat in with you and some of them with you and Amy, I feel like besides just giving like besides talking about NFTs, you guys do like this whole health and mental health Twitter spaces, and you talk, and then you even like talk about you introduce new NFT artists, and then you talk about all these different NFT new platforms. It's such a way to build such a huge community. Tell us a bit more about yourself, because I noticed that you do build a lot of other community besides the NFT before. So can you tell us some more about that?
In general, or about community on NFTs?
Both, because I noticed I'm looking at some of your bio, and I'm looking at some of your communication, your networking organization that you built. Some of the can you tell us about that?
So I think without community, there is no successful product, successful service, anything. And it's not new either. It seems like everybody's talking about community nowadays like it's a new thing. Like, oh, you gotta have community, we gotta build community, we gotta have community, and then community. It's like, well, communities have been around for like hundreds of years. Like, we have secret societies and all these other things that were going on in history. We have all sorts of like things around like communities that were built around when the car was invented, and all of a sudden there was car clubs. People want to find things in common. They want to actually connect with other people, and they just need a reason to. So when you give them a reason, a good example of a reason, like I use educational technology or ed tech right now as an example. So you give someone, like let's just say an online course or something like that, they are all taking the course together, so they all have something to chat about. So there's an automatic community built right there. So everybody's doing something together. They all have something in common, so they all can communicate and feel welcome. And the same thing goes with any product or service that's out there. Yes, there's some services that are a little bit sterile, obviously. Like let's just say there might be a SaaS system or something out there that's like, it's just a tool. But when it comes to like really great products, without community being built, it just won't succeed. So I've built communities at every company I've ever worked at, except for probably some of the financial technology companies like Lower My Bills. There really wasn't a community there. That was more lead gen. But when it comes to, it's literally the same thing. Lead gen and community are kind of the same thing. You're trying to get people to all talk to each other. You're trying to get people to all take part in something. In this case, building community is actually quite easy, especially like let's just say at Sony, we build community around movies, right? People have their favorite movies. People love Ghostbusters, for example. There's a huge community cult following for Ghostbusters. Huge. We tapped into that to promote when we actually windowed Ghostbusters on Crackle, and it just blew up with views. People were like, wow, it was promoted everywhere. And it's just so easy to tap into those communities and make them part of ours. As long as you actually insert yourself into a community that's already like pre-built in a way, you can actually build a micro community inside of a community that already exists, a pre-existing community, as they call it, or I call it, I guess, coined. So you can actually go inside, and as long as you are genuinely wanting to build community for the right reasons in that already established community, you're going to be able to have people build this micro community around that one, and then that one's going to grow over time once people start sharing information. So it's just a matter of time before you embed yourself into a community, and then it starts growing. You can also build it from scratch, like literally from scratch, and just know your audience. And knowing your audience means, and again, know your audience and tribal marketing. Great example is this. This one is, well, I could use Atari, but let's use HelloMusic.com. I was the GM and SVP of marketing for Hello Music, which was like, we sold electric guitars, drum kits, all that stuff for like rock bands. And it was a social commerce for musicians, basically, but just not for, like marching band instruments, but mainly for rock bands. So they were having a hard time, like, connecting with audiences, and all I did was, it seems simple now, but I actually created tribes, like, because guitarists talk to other guitarists, and they like certain things. Drummers like different things, and they like exactly this very much similar thing. So I broke them all into small tribes, and those tribes became large tribes after a while, and all of a sudden we would promote something that was very guitar based, and it just would attract like crazy an audience of guitarists that, in my editorial calendar that I planned out. Then we would promote drums, and all of a sudden crazy amount of drummers would just come into our ecosystem, and we would just kept building it. And within 12 months, actually 11 and a half months to be exact, but we had about 40,000 fans on our Facebook page. This is when Facebook was very, very, very important for marketing. They had about 40,000 fans. I built that up to 460,000 fans in 11 and a half months, and reduced the cost of acquisition from $16 down to 89 cents. So
that's incredible.
That's the attention hacking, though, and also problem solving. Like, if you don't have the problem solving piece to this and attention hacking technique, you can't do that. And I can tell you, I'll give you guys a little nugget of how I did this. If you want to know, I actually created a 2-click sign up. So you had to like, and the way I did that as well is by doing giveaways. So I was giving away a guitar. I would say I was giving a guitar away every month, a set of drums every month, and a bunch of other musical gear to market to those tribes. I was giving those away. To sign up for the giveaway, you had to click twice and type in nothing. You didn't have to touch the keyboard. Click once to like the Facebook page, click the other, click connect to Facebook Connect, and it basically gathered all those people's information. And then we emailed those folks and turned social media in from a zero profit channel for Hello Music to making up 30% of the total revenue monthly, and we increased the revenue every single month. I think we were doing about $10,000 when I came out. We were doing actually it was more than double, we tripled it. We started doing $30,000 a month in revenue from the social channel. Like basically created the flywheel effect with that promotion of those giveaways, where we're just like post a giveaway, you amp up the post, and all of a sudden all these people would like, share, comment, all this stuff, and all of a sudden we were getting like 2,000 to 3,000 signups a day. The flywheel effect worked so well, I actually turned off marketing spend for 2 months straight, and we were still getting 33,000 new members a month without spending $1 in marketing for 2 straight months. I don't even know if it could have lasted. It could have lasted 3 months. I don't even know. I I just decided to turn marketing back on. So I was like, wow, if we can get 33,000 every month, like literally exactly the same number every month, I'm like, maybe I can double that. And it started to work. So I just turned it up and amplified, and it just blew up. So
wow,
building community for me is just problem solve. So
wow. What did you like? How did it feel when you start seeing all those numbers? That must have been a rush. I would have had a rush just seeing that much interaction.
The funnier part was the CEO didn't believe it could be possible. He was like, great guy, by the way. He just didn't believe it because he actually thought he had a $9 cost per acquisition of a user. And when I actually built a proprietary, basically tracking system internally at that company, I worked with a developer to do it. We built it in like a week and a half. So they didn't have any tracking, but they were spending a lot of money on marketing. As soon as we turned the lights on with the tracking, so we could actually see like what the cost per acquisition really was, it turned out it was $16. But once you actually have real numbers to look at, you can then, change the cost. You can actually affect the marginal revenue curve, like in terms of how much you're actually selling on for versus how much you're spending on basically your cost curve. So once I got those numbers and I knew they were real, it's really easy to like reduce cost and actually increase user acquisition. Even while reducing cost, you can still increase user acquisition just by some simple problem solving and just, I guess, deep thinking, or maybe it's like smart thinking. I don't even know. I call it common sense.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a big rush. And what's cool about the rush was I love proving people wrong. When someone tells me I can't do it, I've pretty much proven them wrong every time. So it's pretty fun.
Okay, wow. I couldn't. You know what? I'm so glad we had this conversation because I thought I knew, because I studied everything about you beforehand. Before we've been talking about doing this for a couple months now. So and I studied everything about you, and what you just told me just blew my mind. I didn't even know anything about that. So let's talk NFT. When did you get involved in this community? Because NFT is very new, non-fungible token. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, and thank you for like always sharing content with me, because like I told you, I want to be the NFT publicist because I just think it's going to be it's going to be an incredible time. And again, Art Basel is happening down in South Florida, and I'm always trying to figure out a way to sponsor an event with them. So I think I'm going to do a NFT event. But tell us a bit about that. When did you get involved?
I started getting involved in the NFT space in August of 2020. And I was just like, I was locked out. We were all locked down in LA on pandemic. So I was like, wow, this is something new. And a friend came to me and was like, I really want to get into NFTs, but I don't know really how to do it. I have all this distribution, but how do I make the transition? So I basically made a strategy for him to get into NFTs in the last quarter of the 2020. And I started minting my own NFTs in October of 2020, I believe. And yeah, I've been really interested in NFTs for a very long time, but that's when I started to see like some NFTs going for some ridiculous money. And one of the people I know actually, started selling money when they did start selling NFTs. I think his first piece went for 23 Ethereum. And I was like, what? And that's when Ethereum was like $4,000. I was like, wait a minute, you just sold one of your Instagram posts for 24 Ethereum or 23 Ethereum. And yeah, the answer was yes. And then it just kept selling and selling, and there was a lot of NFT folks. I got involved with a couple of other big NFT artists in the space and started like trying to basically help them. And all of a sudden, I was like, wow, these artists are really making out like tons of money off of like amazing art too. Some of these folks actually were trying to struggle and sell their art, physical art, and they were having a hard time selling their physical art for like $5 or $10 online, so you could like hang some art on your wall. And I was like, as soon as NFTs come out, the same piece of art, this guy was trying to sell for $5 or $10, sold for 23 Ethereum when he made it into an NFT, and it was like, it blew his mind. It blew my mind like 3 times more than his, I'm sure. And then I was just like, I was hooked because I was like, wait a minute, I need to know way more of like why this happened. And it was all about distribution. He had built distribution through Twitter and Instagram. He had a big reach, big following on both, 100,000 on both channels at the time. And once you build distribution, you basically can sell just about anything to people. As long as you're putting out great content, you can actually put out stuff that really makes a lot of sense. So before he was actually selling NFTs, he was selling online coursework. So he was literally at the right place at the right time for the pandemic. Like he literally started selling coursework right at the beginning of 2020. Wasn't doing very well. And then the pandemic hit, and then about May it just took off like crazy. Took off for him. He made $1 million selling coursework just in the last quarter of 2020, and he wanted to transition out of that and not just do coursework, but into NFTs, and that's why he got into NFTs a little bit earlier as well. So yeah, and then his biggest piece sold for like 75 Ethereum, and I'll show you the piece afterwards. You'll just be shocked at what sold for 74 Ethereum. It's kind of crazy.
I know, but didn't you see that piece of art in Miami for last year for Art Basel with a banana being taped? I think we got like 100,000. Yeah, so.
That was amazing. I can't believe that sold too, but it's like that seems more realistic to me. Again, not having like physical goods products like this, like it's kind of it's a new world for everybody to understand that like sometimes you would buy an NFT, it's a futures contract for that piece of art. You don't get the trade, you don't get the copyright to it, and unless it's specifically said inside the art itself. So you're basically betting that you have a piece of art from an artist that will appreciate over time, not depreciate. So most of these folks, buying early NFTs, especially in 2020, that's pioneering days. Like right now is still pioneering days. And if you bought art in 2020 and, again, early 2021 and even now, that art will absolutely be valuable if it's still around. Like let's just say if it doesn't like disappear for some reason or people stop supporting it, that art will always have a place in history because it's so early in the space. Like if you talk about NFTs to anybody else outside of this circle, they literally have no idea what you're talking about still. They're like, what's an NFT? I don't get it. I was literally at a NFT drop on Saturday, this past Saturday, and I was explaining to folks that were at an NFT drop what NFTs were. Like they came to the drop and they didn't even know what NFTs were. So I was like, wait a minute, let me explain. I spent 3 hours explaining what NFTs were and the NFT artist that dropped it was not able to, and I'm not just, basically taking away from the NFT artist. I was able to easier explain NFTs to people where they just kept coming to me, and the artist, was able to go and basically do what he does best, which is like sign physical copies that we're dropping with the NFT, stuff like that. So I was glad to ship it and help out. And it's just, that's part of my role as a marketer is like have clear communication. The best communication wins at the end of the day in business. Not the best ideas, but the best person who can communicate those ideas. So that's
so true. So do you think that will be like the future be like, how to have art classes online, or would there be like NFT art classes? Would that be feasible in the future or now?
The art classes are just graphic design art classes, right? It's just all that is graphic design. I mean, you could literally mint a tweet, like you could mint your Instagram image you just made, as long as it's not like got copyright materials in it, like a celebrity's face or a meme or something like that's not yours. But if you create some artwork or something cool on you could do it right from your phone, right? I could go on to an app on my phone right now and create some art, probably within 10 minutes, maybe less, and I could go and upload that and mint it on the blockchain. It literally would take me less than 20 minutes to mint an NFT right now, from first designing it to minting it. So I took that was my first actual NFT minting. My first 3 NFT mintings were from a Instagram. I don't even know if I ever even posted it on my Instagram, but I made it for an Instagram post, and I posted it like 3 times. And the first couple of times I minted it, no one bought it because I was just like, so I just did it just to do it. You know what I mean? Like doing it, you always learn so much more than just like reading about it. So I minted the first one, probably made a mistake on it, didn't understand how royalties worked or anything like that. It didn't sell because I didn't really promote it, and I was like, wow, what a mistake. And then I did another one, and it was better, but I still made a few mistakes on the minting process. And then the third time, I got it right, and then I couldn't believe it, but someone bought it. Someone bought it, and I made like, I think it was like $300 or something like that from it. And I was like, whoa, an Instagram post that I made, and yeah, I took time to make that one. It was definitely a good post, but I just never thought, why would anybody want to own this? You know, like to me, like why would someone want my art? Well, you know what? There's 1,000. If I think it's cool, there's 100,000, if not millions, of people out there that also probably think it's cool, and I'm just looking for people that agree with my opinion that it's cool, right? You're not marketing to change minds. You're marketing to find people who already agree with you. So that's how I see it, at least. So that's yeah. I hope I answered your questions.
Oh yes! Circles. Wow. So thank you so much. So let me go ahead and open it up for Q&A. Let's ask Lucas anything. So if anybody wants to request a mic, you can go ahead and do it. And I see my good friend Devin is here. Let me have him come up. Hi Devin, how are you? Sorry, there you go, Devin.
I'm good. How are you?
Pleasure to meet you, man.
Yeah, you as well. Yeah, I have a few questions. I'm coming at this from a very different part of the spectrum. So, curious, you mentioned how early we are in terms of this space and how you believe far into the future that most of what's being created right now will be valuable. So, I'm curious on your thoughts in terms of, out of all the behavior we can see in the space right now, do you believe it's entirely rational or could very well be in a bubble? Along with that...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Is it two-parter? You want to wait for the second part and I'll answer the first part now?
Yeah, please.
So I don't want to disparage the NFT market because I think it's going to be around forever. Like it's literally, this is changing our world right now. So 100% NFTs will be around forever. We're never going to get away from that now. What I see now is absolutely unsustainable currently. There's no way a market could go like this. And if I actually wrote a Twitter thread about this, you ever heard of Tulip Mania? From 1636, okay, cool, 1637. This is like Tulip Mania a little bit, and the only side that I see why it's not exactly like Tulip Mania is that people were drastically overpricing things that were goods that just didn't deserve that price. Where in this case, there are NFT artists that will absolutely create art that will no doubt be valuable in the future. And it's just a way of collectibles. This is digital collectibles. You can't really collect a tulip bulb and like put it on your shelf and go, hey, look at that tulip bulb over there. Look at my fine collection of tulip bulbs. They were actually used. Like when someone bought those, they basically planted them, and it was a sign of like great wealth. Where in this case, there is a bubble. There's a lot of people that are going to come rushing into this market as soon as there's really good mobile support for NFTs. And as soon as that happens, there's going to absolutely be, it's going to be a crazy gold rush. Very much like 1999, 1998, and even a little bit of 2000 when people were rushing into the startup space with a PowerPoint presentation, a dream, and no software to speak of, but people were throwing money at them. That's what's going on here. There's digital collect. The only difference is the digital collectible scene has transcended from the physical collection scene, right? So there's been collectibles for over 100 years, hundreds of years, people have been collecting things. Digital collectibles will never go away. What's not sustainable is the price of all these 10,000 collections that are out there that are, there are some that actually have utility in terms of building community and then actually taking that community and like growing it in different directions and also playing in the metaverse with like certain tools that come with the collections. So like this is say you get an avatar collection and you're able to use it and 3D model it in the metaverse. Cool. There's some utility there, but also the community is a utility. You can actually leverage that community to do other things like pick a DAO and go invest in like more expensive NFT art or fractional NFT art like CryptoPunks or the Bored Apes or something like that. But there are some projects out there. Fame Lady Squad, to name one of them, because we all know how that. I don't know if you guys know about that one, but Fame Lady Squad was actually supposedly ran by a women's team, and it turned out to be 3 guys in Russia running it. So, basically those kind of projects run for, what we call cash grabs. There'll be still more of those that come into the space, but they will soon just eventually, I think 95% will be devalued over time because there's just too many of them. And the supply will outweigh demand, and people will get wise to the run up of these things, the FOMO, and basically the hype cycles that are around these products, these NFTs, like especially the collections. That'll go away soon because no one's going to be willing to pay. You buy an NFT for 0.01, and then you sell it for 0.1, and then no one's willing to buy it for 0.2. That's exactly how the tulip mania actually started to fail. People are just not willing to trade. And when there's just too many trading cards out there, just too many, brands of trading cards out there or collections, it's just gonna be overwhelming. It's already overwhelming. We're already seeing degradation and also what they call rug pulls or cash grabs in this category. So that's the thing that's going to turn it off, because the Fame Lady Squad happened, and that actually affected the other women's projects that were out there. The World of Women were actually affected without being associated, just because it was another women's project, and it actually dropped in value because the Fame Lady Squad was a cash grab. So when things like that happen, it's kind of like when a index fund kind of like tanks, or let's just say a good example is Bitcoin. When Bitcoin actually goes down, a lot of the cryptocurrencies follow it. So Ethereum and let's just say Doge actually kind of follows it. Where Bitcoin is the index fund, that's what happens with other like-type projects. And that like-type project went down for a little while, but actually recovered now too. So there's like fear is made when things like that happen, and like-type projects suffer for a little while, but the ones that are real will be sticking around for a while. So I think, I would say about 5 to 15% of the folks after the gold rush, of all these folks coming into the market, will be left, and those will be again, just like any other category in the world, there'll be influential artists. 5 to 15% of those folks will be left and will be selling their art for like ridiculous sums of money. Then there'll be the medium to small artists that are making a great living in the NFT space. And then there'll be people that just come in trying to make a quick buck, find out that it's not that easy to just like make it, mint an NFT and make, an Ethereum or 2 Ethereum from it, or even half an Ethereum from it. And they're going to get discouraged and leave. And those are the people that I'm talking about, the gold rush. They're going to come in, like a good example of that is like some of my family members, when they start to talk about NFTs, I know that the gold rush is about to, I know that the market's about to crash as far as I'm concerned. So they are completely adverse to new things until they're talking about it in like their social circles, and their social circles are very, very old school. And once it hits them, I know that's when I know it's coming. That's when I'm going to write an article and be like, guys, like the crash, like I wouldn't say the crash, I would say the correction is near. And that's when the time will happen. So that's like, I have a cool barometer in place right now.
That's really a reasonable approach to take too for that barometer. I mean, it's just like, grandma knocking on the door asking about inflation. Maybe it's time to start betting on deflation or something, right?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. When my brothers, it's funny because I use the analogy of Doge. I actually invested in Dogecoin in early December of 2020, and I bought in at like 0.004 cents, so 4/10 of a cent. And I tried to get my brothers to invest, my family to invest, because I'm like, this is going to actually, there's a hype cycle here. I've been watching it for a while. I know what's going on. For some reason, people are going to come rushing in here because it's been added to Robinhood, and I know Robinhood's a great onboarding aspect for cryptocurrency. It's such a low price that folks are going to come in that have unit bias. If you guys know what unit bias is, they don't want to own fractional. They don't really want to own a fractional Bitcoin. They don't want to own a fractional Ethereum. And, let's be honest, during that time period, especially in December, Bitcoin was in, I believe, the $60,000 price range. No one can afford to own unless you're super wealthy, can afford to own like a full Bitcoin. And the people who could afford to own like maybe one or two full Bitcoins at the time didn't understand cryptocurrency, so they weren't investing in that either. But they would take a little bit of a risk on Doge because it was just more affordable. It was a more affordable risk. So they didn't get in. When they did get in, and I knew that was the end. The Doge was going to actually drop. They both bought in, or a couple of my brothers bought in early May, and I was like, they actually bought Doge after I told them 6 months ago about it. Now they bought. It's not going to go well. I cashed out, and exactly 8 days later, Doge hit its high and then went right back down, and corrected itself, let's just say. So the barometer works.
No, that's fantastic. I think we see eye to eye. I mean, I personally see pretty much the current space very similarly to Tulip Mania, as both are, as far as I'm concerned, strictly vanity and not so much utility, though utility tokens, are obviously going to be a major part of the future of finance. My second question was really your thoughts on some of what I view to be both systematic and systemic risks in the system. That is fairly easy ways to perpetrate fraud in terms of the NFT marketplaces right now, as well as regulatory risk, specifically around stable coins. And your thoughts on what potential, total evaporation of liquidity in the space would do to the trajectory of the space.
There being total, like, there's no way the space is going anywhere. There's no collapse that's coming, unless Ethereum goes away, which is not ever going to go away, unless Tez or Rari or any of this crypto that's out there, like it's not going to go away. Like, built on the Ethereum blockchain, like it's here to stay. It's too big to fail, kind of a thing. So now, maybe I'm not understanding the question, but like, what do you mean by it all, like liquidity disappearing?
So I mean, vast majority of transactions putting money into networks like Ethereum come from stable coins and not actual fiat currencies. And so if those on-ramps, say, disappear due to regulatory conditions, just liquidity is inherently removed from the system. And looking at traditional markets, when liquidity is removed very quickly, that generally causes a violent repricing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just don't think that's going to happen here. Again, there's too many people involved in the cryptocurrency with too many lobbying dollars out there to make sure that this doesn't happen. So I actually think it won't happen. The more they keep building out Ethereum, the more they keep supporting it, and the more influential people get involved, the more lobbying dollars come in, the more nothing is going to change with crypto. There might be some regulatory systems around it, but I mean, the government always wants their end. They always want their piece. That might actually happen where they actually put rules in place so they just get their chunk of the pie. But it actually correcting to the point where they basically say no more. Like, it's just not. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening if that does happen, it won't happen for years. And it's by then it'll be too ingrained in our society. Again, too big to fail. Like, it's just too big to fail. You know, if they try to regulate, like let's just say correct crypto in some negative way, it's going to make the entire market crash. Like, no one wants that. There's too much money in crypto. So I don't believe that'll ever happen, actually.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we're very, very far apart out of yours on that. That's right. If you don't mind just touching on the potential frauds occurring in terms of manipulating, prices on one's own pieces on some of these NFT exchanges, and how people might be able to remain vigilant in terms of identifying, fake promotions, fake hype, and not getting sucked into some of the maybe very, very quick price movements.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's like the fear of missing out is a pretty strong lever for like human beings. Like, no one wants to miss out on a deal where they can make 1,000 times the money. Like, what a great deal! Like, here's $100 to give me 1,000. I'll do that all day long, right? So I actually think. Well, I've been scammed before. Just so you know, like, I actually bought into an NFT project, and that project got completely delisted and removed, and the token was removed out of my wallet and everything. So that's always going to happen. That's always a risk. Now, when it comes to manipulating prices, especially like the groups manipulating prices, they actually have to spend quite a bit of money to actually manipulate prices. You can't just manipulate them without actually being seen. There are unnamed wallets, let's just say, or like anonymous wallets out there that could go around and like buy floors up of like a certain collection. Let's pretend the floor is at 0.005 Ethereum for a collection of 10,000. Now, if they have a 10 or 20 like wallets out there that are not like kind of like anonymous wallets making those moves, it's all tracked on the blockchain. You can see all those interactions happening. So every transaction could be actually viewed. That's what's great about the blockchain and how visible it is. That you can actually make it so that you can see what's going on, and if they're manipulating the floors to actually boost the price of these things. And when it comes to promotion or the buzz or the marketing around it, there is no bad promotion and bad marketing if they're being genuine about it. Meaning, like, if they have a collection, even if it's a cash grab collection, if they do good marketing and people buy it, that was a successful marketing campaign, regardless of whether they're going to use this, create utility over the next 3 years, or in 3 years disappear. Those tokens still exist out there. So that means they'll have some value regardless if there's a community around it or not. They'll still be valuable eventually at some point in time, because we're in the pioneering days of NFTs. So although the first NFT was minted in 2014, we still have not had mass adoption even come close, because we don't have mobile support. So once we get that, I think we will see a greater adoption of it. In terms of scams, there's going to be a lot more scams coming down the road that are literally full-on scams, like the famed Lady Squad, where they're just going to come in, make a bunch of avatars, get a bunch of hype, spend a little money on the right, like, influential people to market it, and all of a sudden, bam, that's, it's off to the races, created FOMO, created the right amount of hype around it, made a hype cycle, it worked, it sold out, and then the people who did the project stopped interacting in, like, the Discord, stopped interacting on the website, stopped interacting everywhere, and all of a sudden, you're left with some amazing, just some amazing art that you thought might have value in the future. Maybe it will. Again, people collect all sorts of stuff that you'd never think would have value in the future. I mean, they collect road signs. Like, who cares? Like, an old stop sign actually has value. Like, to me, it doesn't, but an old Texaco sign has value. Like, someone will pay thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for the right 1940s Texaco sign or 1950s Texaco sign. It's crazy what people buy, but at the same time, to each their own. Art is art is art, right? So I think even some of these projects that don't get burned will have value as long as you have the tokens still in your wallets.
Wow, that's awesome. I want to be, make sure I want to, Shania is one of my good friends and follower. She has a background, she's having issues with her phone, it's giving her background. She wanted me to ask you, which apps do you recommend for creating NFT?
It depends on what kind of art you're doing, but I would start with like simple ones on your phone. There's an app called Blender that's really popular amongst the NFT community. It's basically a motion graphics, kind of a thing. I would say Adobe After Effects is pretty good. Depending on what you want to do, though, if you're making still images, Photoshop is regular, Adobe Illustrator, Figma, Adobe XD. I mean, you literally can use an app on your phone from the App Store called Over, which is 100% free. You can pay for it as well to get like some pro features, but I can tell you from my experience, you don't need the pro features. I make every single Instagram post, although I haven't been posting on Instagram since I've been living on Twitter for the last like 5 months. But when I do, I go into Over and I make my Instagram posts. I create art in there. They have all the free shapes and designs and stuff like that. But I'm also I'm a Photoshop expert. I've been using Photoshop since the year of 2000. And Adobe Illustrator I've been using, and Premiere, all the Adobe suite basically. And I've been using Figma since 2019, so I know how to use that pretty well as well. So like any of these tools can be used to create artwork, and photography, right? Photography is artwork, so it really spans the gamut. Like literally, you could go out there with a camera and just take a photo and mint it on the blockchain. If it's an amazing photo, you could sell it tomorrow. You could sell it today. You take it today, you could sell it today. It's crazy. We are actually living in such a cool time. You could walk down the street, take an amazing photo in the morning of like a sunrise or of like deer or something cool, just a cool photo, and post it up and sell it before it's the afternoon. You could be making money. And think about this. Every NFT you sell, you can attach a royalty to it. So anytime someone else buys it or uses it for some other purpose, you could actually, that royalty kicks into effect. So you can imagine all of these entry points. Imagine you're a photographer and you take 10 photos and you put it out there. That's 10 new revenue streams. So think about that. That's how you have to think about NFT artwork. The more revenue streams you have out there, the better. This is diversification of your revenue streams, because these, especially with collectibles, you can actually, let's say you have 1,000 collectibles. Those collectibles, you created that artwork. You can sell those collectibles, and all of a sudden, those are making you 10% royalties every time they exchange hands. If you have enough artwork out there exchanging hands at the right volume, you never have to work again a day in your life. Or you can just augment your salary, or your already salary, or you could just make it a side hustle. But either way, you could actually pay your mortgage with your side hustle by creating NFTs from something you actually love to do. Just as simple as photography and having the right. All you need is a camera, and you might already have the camera, or you could just use your iPhone, or your Android too. But I recommend iPhone. I'm an iPhone maxi. Sorry.
So am I. I love this. Oh my gosh, people! I'm getting messages saying how thanking me for having this chat with you. So I want to be mindful of the time. We actually went a little bit over. I want to go ahead and shut the space within 5 minutes. Does anyone have any other questions that you would like to grab the mic? Go ahead and request it. Because again, Lucas, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for coming on and sharing some of your ideas and tricks and different things that you experience. And wow, I've learned so much about you. But what's next for you? What are you doing next?
Top secret. No, I'm just kidding. I'm continue doing what I'm doing right now. So I run 2 companies right now, and I'm just sitting here in spaces literally every day, between 6 and 8 hours with my one of my friends down there, Amy, and a couple other folks that we actually have in our spaces every day. we co-host spaces together, and I can tell you, it's been amazing to be part of this community. So I'm going to continue to be part of this community, and I might actually make my own artwork myself pretty soon. So I've been a graphic designer since the year 2000. I just haven't really, like, who'd want to buy anything from me? So I really don't, I still not there yet with myself. But I love helping this community, and I I came because of the NFTs, and I'm staying for the community. It's just amazing. These folks are just amazing people, and I can't wait to just keep building this community together and educating and possibly helping where I can, and just making amazing connections and lifelong friends. That's what I plan on doing in the NFT space for a little while. But I'm going to continue running my companies and possibly, start a new one. You just never know what's down the line.
Wow, thank you so much. And just a quick reminder, everybody, this is being recorded. I also recorded the screen recording because I have a Restream account, but I want to put this through my social network. So this is going to be going through audio and video. So I just want to give you a disclaimer. You're in a space that's being pre-recorded. And again, I really appreciate everyone showing up, showing your support. I promise you a good chat with Mr. Wonderful over here, Luke 360, known as Lucas Bean. And again, I reach out, make sure you follow him, follow everybody in this space. Make sure you guys follow each other. And what I love about this space is that we just don't even, we have NFT artists, we have marketers, we have podcaster, and as the community is growing. So again, I appreciate everyone for showing up, and I want to be mindful of our time. We got about 3 minutes. You want to give some closing remark, Lucas, before we leave?
Thanks for everybody for listening down in the audience here. Just about 90% of the people, maybe more, are folks I already know, so it's amazing. And thanks for being here, and thanks for having me, Tanya. It's been amazing. And Devin, it's been a pleasure also, man. I just threw you a follow, man. You're a smart guy. I'd love to catch up with you afterwards.
So I got 2 minutes left, and Mr. Original, I want to give you have 2 minutes to ask a question to Lucas. I know you were trying to get up here earlier.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hi, Lucas.
Man.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Virtually, very, 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 very warm welcome to you. I want to say thank you again for taking your time to even talk to all of us and give your knowledge and thoughts. I really appreciate that. So I just had one question for you, actually. Between all of your experiences as head of marketing for all these different companies, and then going into graphics design and doing your own sorts of projects, what sort of experience really stood out to you and sort of humbled you and took your career off into that sort of next level and solidified your ventures as well as your passion in becoming a graphics designer and an NFT pioneer, actually?
So I wouldn't really classify myself as a graphic designer because that's not my job right now. So I would say the thing that changed my life in terms of my career was working at lowermybills.com. But the one thing that actually made me start my first company was Traffic Marketplace, and I started my own company. It was great. So yeah, that's where my career actually took a really hard turn. But the biggest pinnacle turning point in my career was absolutely working at lowermybills.com and coming out to the West Coast. That changed the game for me, absolutely, because I went from being the North American marketing manager for Sennheiser, and then getting my graduate degrees, and then basically uprooting myself and coming out to LA. And I knew zero people out here, absolutely zero people out here. And it was scary, but also exciting at the same time. And it absolutely changed my life for the best. The career I have out here, I basically owe all to Lower My Bills and what I learned there, and in grad school, of course, but mostly on the job. And it literally, if I did not have that opportunity, I absolutely would not be speaking to you now. That was the pinnacle turning point of me going, you know what? I've lived in New England my whole life. I'm taking a chance, moving out to LA. I don't know anybody. Driving across the country. I found my roommates 30 minutes outside of LA at a truck stop through,
oh my God.
truck stop. It's kind of funny to say just because we didn't have smartphones back then. And I literally had to, I was on Craigslist and that's how I found them. And I literally pulled in. They had to look, they had to see me in person and they were like, yep, you got the place. So that was it. I mean, I literally just took a huge risk and got into the hardcore startup tech scene and I've been in it ever since.
That's exceptional. Thank you for sharing that. Your story really resonates with me because I'm sort of in the same situation. I moved from UK to LA, and I'm basically our story is very similar. That's where the parallel happened. So I can really sympathize with you, and I appreciate you for sharing that story.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks for asking that question. That was a good question. Very good question.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. And Lucas, I'll talk to you later. Again, this show is going to be, this Twitter space will be going up two different ways, one audio, one video. So FYI, folks, we're being recorded. I have to continue saying that so that we have this disclaimer. And it will be all over YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So audio and video at the same time. Again, everyone, happy TGI Friday. Lucas, thank you so much. And if anyone out there want to be part of my chat, I'm hosting once a week where I feature someone in our community. And reach out to me and we can set up a time and we can have a quick conversation. Again, thank you, Lucas. Bye, everybody. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Devin, and thank you, Mr. Original. Take care, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.